Welcome to the Minnesotan Pod. We are joined today with Jay Ekman, the new head coach at Forest Lake High School. Jay is a 2010 grad from Andover High School, where he played football and hockey. Jay played football at the University of Wisconsin River Falls and graduated in 2015. After school, he went on to coach Andover youth hockey for 8 years, where the Huskies made 2 trips to the Bantam AA state tournament. Welcome to the Minnesotan Pod, Jay Ekman.
You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. Cause it get cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota.
How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I met you probably 7-8 years ago. You were coaching in the Bantam Elite League, and I saw, other than our build and your better looks, I saw a lot of myself in you. I was a young coach one day and very fired up, and it was fun to watch you go into squirts and bantams, and obviously Bantam AA for 7 seasons. It was an incredible run you had at Andover, and it's fun to watch you now with a Forest Lake sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
And you've kind of been a little bit of an underdog. You like that underdog role, and I think that you're going to fit in great at Forest Lake. Tell me about how the process went down, how you got hired and applied for the job and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the pod today. It's kind of a whirlwind. Obviously saw it opened up and had some interconnections about maybe there being a coaching change, and was jumped on that application process right away. And a month and change later, I had some good conversations with the AD over there, Mike Hennon, and it turned out to be a really good fit and a good fit for my family. And I'm super excited to begin my process and career with Forest Lake, and I'm beyond excited.
We spent a little time here just kind of going through your path, family and your wife, and great dance line winner that she was. We had to get that in early, right?
Yep, exactly. State champion.
But you dropped something literally 10 seconds before we went into the intro about your college roommate and what he does. So talk about that. I think that may have had some influence, if you think about it. The coach might have went and said, Hennon might have went and said, "Hey, what do you think of this Ekman guy?"
Yep, it definitely did. Shout out to Forest Lake football, Brad Bisco and that group. They've had a phenomenal turnaround from the year before. Made it to the section championship and lost to Maple Grove. A really good football game, and Brad and I have gone way back playing youth football. Going to the local baseball parks and the baseball around, and ended up playing college football together, and we're roommates in college for 4 years. And I think there was a conversation within the last couple of years on how fun it would be if we both could be coaching at the same high school. And now it's kind of come to fruition a little bit, and it's been really fun.
Well, I was so excited to hear that. I think it's kind of a neat story how you guys go back to college and probably broke down a couple games, whether it be hockey or football in your day.
Yep, exactly. And Brad, he like to say he's probably another assistant coach too. He was in our team meeting helping out with some technical aspects of the slideshow, and no, he's a great guy.
I'm sure. Okay, so let's just break down a little bit about who you are. I like to do a little bit of background, family, stuff like that. Your parents, Mark and Susie. Talk a little bit about those two and their influence on you, and what they did for a living, or what they're probably still doing for a living. They're still pretty young.
Yeah. My father owns a franchise, Performa Marketing Incentives. He helps with promotional branding for companies. Mom is a communications director for a post-acute facility, helping with individuals that need assistance in care. And they're probably my biggest supporters and influences. And they've been through the thick and thin with me through my coaching career, and they always come out and support. They're always asking how my teams are doing, and been really blessed to have a really good support system with them.
I have a son who's 2 games into traveling baseball after post college. Okay. So, how many games should I go to of his? I want to go to every game, but I feel like that'd be kind of tampering. How many should I go to out of a 25 gamer?
Oh man,
5?
I think 5 to 5, 6, 7 maybe. Maybe playoffs if they make playoffs.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure I don't want to tread too hard on his career. So I think we do fine. All right, and I think you got. Look, I want to know. You got younger sisters. They're twins.
Yep.
Sarah and Liz. Did I write that right?
Yep.
Are they your biggest fans or were they your biggest nuisance? Because I'm the youngest, so I'm always a little nervous if I was a nuisance to my older siblings or not.
I would probably say I was their biggest nuisance. I don't know.
Did they get stuck going to all your games?
I'm sure they did. They ran track in high school and had a little bit of a hockey career, but they've been supportive as well, and always asking how their teams are doing, and they've been great too.
So they're a couple years younger. Where are they? They're probably just fresh out of college, maybe a couple years out of college.
Yeah, a few years out of college. Sarah is a dental hygienist.
Okay.
Liz works in customer success with a food packaging group. So,
all right. Are they sports fans?
They are. Not as diehard probably as myself, but they'll watch the Wild and Twins and Vikings. And
would they ever come to one of your games?
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'll force
them.
Did
they ever come to any of your Andover games?
Yeah, they've been to a few, not as much as my parents, but
all right.
I don't know how exciting a Bantam game would be for someone who isn't necessarily invested, but
okay.
They'll definitely come out.
All right. Are they identical twins?
Yes,
they are. So they probably could kill you if they wanted to, because they could communicate with one another, and they probably can use signs, right?
They still live together in Maple Grove.
Do they? See, I was going to say there's there's a bond there that you can't break, right?
The twins chemistry.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your sports. We talked about it in the intro a little bit. You played football and hockey at Andover. Yep. What were you like as a kid? Was it just? I'm guessing it was just whatever. If there was a ball or a puck, you wanted to play.
Yeah, there's a meme that goes around Instagram with a little kid that plays with a hockey stick in his crib, and I feel like that was me growing up. Always wanted to play sports. Always wanted to be outside, and my dad playing sports growing up and coaching my teams was a big influence too.
So your dad was a football player too.
Yes.
For the Concordia Cobbers.
Yep.
And I think you dropped on me that there was a national championship in there.
Yep. So Dad was a defensive end for the Cobbers. I believe it was 1978. They won the national championship.
You said he was from Columbia Heights.
Yep, Columbia Heights.
Was he a state champion there too?
Don't quote me. I'm not sure.
Because there was a Columbia Heights state champion, late 70s, early 80s. Mark Alt was a amazing tight end from that team, and I'm not sure what year it was, but Heights had some powerhouses in the mid 70s to early 80s in a lot of sports.
Don't quote me. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that he has a national championship ring somewhere.
Football ring. All right. So you're playing sports in high school. Your head coach was Rich Wilkie. Talk a little bit about his coaching style and what maybe you drew from him.
Yeah, Rich was, he was a staple of Andover football for a while. I believe it was over 20 years. He was the head coach there. And,
wow.
Played football with Mike, one of his middle sons. Great guy, caring. Really brought the leadership aspect of someone you'd want to look up to as a coach, and he's had some great teams over there, and now he's with Augsburg. But it was a lot of fun being able to play for him.
So he, when you were growing up, was in Andover, was it Friday Night Lights? Did you guys go to every game, wear the jersey, the whole deal?
Yep, probably the definition of Friday Night Lights.
Really?
Wore the jersey to school, pack the stands. the announcer did the who let the dogs out for the Huskies. No, it was a lot of fun, a really cool experience, and the community really came together for those Friday football games.
All right.
They still do too.
And hockey, back in the day, what was Andover? When was the Andover Community Center built? When was that rink built?
The rink was built.
First time I was there in 2011
Don't quote
or 12.
me. I want to
maybe?
say no. It was earlier than that.
Oh.
I want to say it was 2006.
No, I'm saying the first time I ever gone there, so
gotcha.
I know
Okay.
it was before
Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
So 2006. You played in it.
Yeah. Yep.
When you were a kid, where did you guys play?
So I grew up in Fridley.
Oh,
So we
okay.
played my original
What was it?
sports to
What organization was Fridley?
that was
involved
North
with?
Metro.
Yeah, I was going to say North Metro.
Pirates. We played
Yep.
at the old Columbia Arena.
You've seen the old Columbia Arena.
Yeah, that's where we
That's
practiced.
amazing.
Yep. Then we moved to Andover in '99. Then my first year was with we were on the side of where Ham Lake was, so we played for Blaine Youth Hockey Association.
Right.
And then my next year I was with Andover, so that would have been 2002 or 2001, I believe.
Okay. What were you, squirt?
I think I was a first year Pee Wee.
Pee Wee. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then when you get to high school, first of all, youth wise, was Andover? I'm thinking they were still pretty young though. They weren't great. Were they good, or how were you guys?
We were okay. I don't think we were necessarily a huge powerhouse, but we had some talented teams. Went to VFW State a few times, and yeah, it was fun.
All right. Coach Thorson, Coach Manny, both got their hands on you. One was I think it was head coach, Bill, co-coaches your junior year, and then Manny was your senior year.
I believe that. Yep.
Go through those two guys. I mean, I can only imagine what the effect Bill Thorson had on you from a hockey coaching perspective. Do you want to start with Bill, or you want to go with Mark?
We can start with Bill.
Okay, so Bill, you also coached with. So
Yep.
what are your recollections of Bill as a head coach and influencing you as a player and both as a coach?
Yeah, Bill was a very fiery coach. I can remember a few times where we didn't necessarily get off to hot starts, and he would come into the locker room and give a dramatic speech to get the guys going. And Bill's coaching and coming up with drills to really impact skill development and getting everyone moving on the ice is pretty incredible. And being able to coach with him at the squirt level too really brought another sense of how to lead a team, especially at that younger group where a lot of the practices were split ice. So you had a lot of the ADM style practices with stationary work, and was able to gain a lot of knowledge from Bill, specifically from coaching, but also from playing underneath him.
I've spent a lot of time with Coach Manny. I've done a full podcast with him about his history in the Air Force and all the things that he's done in life. And I did a short one with him as well. So I got to know him pretty well. What are your takeaways with Coach Manny and his influence on you?
Yeah, Mark has been great so far with conversations I've had.
Already?
Even in the beginning processes here with Forest Lake. Mark is someone I look up to. He was my first phone call when I took the Forest Lake job to let him know. He's been a great mentor. Just being able to watch him through the last decade or so, coach his teams and lead his teams, the leadership aspect of the kids looking up to someone that, has done, flown Air Force One, played at Air Force, led, great hockey teams, won a state championship team. It's been pretty incredible to be able to get takeaways and learn tendencies on what a successful team looks like, and being able to implement that into how I perceive my teams wanting to play too.
That's great. Well, we'll get to how your team's going to play in a little bit. Okay, so you get to college. Oh, wait, how did you end your high school career? I love asking that question. So what was your last game?
We lost to Duluth East in the section semifinals, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
we'll get to Duluth East in a bit.
They had a couple good teams back then.
But I believe that you ended Joey Bennick's career, though. So you got that feather in your hat, right?
I love Joey and Andy, so shout out to those guys. But no, we were we were able to end his career, but I think he kind of had the last laugh with
I think he did.
playing at St. Cloud and going to play professional. So
I think he did. All right. So you after high school, you move on. You elect to play football. And you're a tight end at UW River Falls. Your coach was Matt Walker, right?
Yep, Matt Walker.
And what was his coaching style like compared to your high school coaches? Was it abstractly different?
I wouldn't necessarily call it different. He was definitely a player's coach and loved being around the guys and being around the team. And he'd always have, one-liners or jokes that would be, that would just lighten the mood up in the locker room. And unfortunately, we weren't necessarily the best football team, but I like to say we were kind of the foundation of the success that they've had over the course of the last few years. And very happy for those guys that go back and play in the golf tournament every year, and to see them, succeed now over the course of the last 2 years, and now being a, contender in the WIAC is super cool. So
it's funny you should bring up going back, because I was talking to, I think it was a dad of a girls high school player who she had gone on a visit there, and they got back and they were just like, that place is unbelievable. Yeah. The facilities for all sports is second to none. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We Carmen Pata and that strength training group over there was overdue. We were training in a little bit of an older weight room, older gymnasium, and the facilities that they were able to build over the course of the last 5 years are unbelievable, state of the art. Hockey arena, brand new stadium, brand new basketball stadium, Division I weight room, and it's just been incredible with the recruiting aspect too for them on the hockey and football side of showing kids like world class facilities, and it's been helping them too win more games.
I haven't seen their men's team, but I know their women's team has been outstanding the last top 5 the last 4 or 5 years.
Women's team has been great.
All right. So after college, you head back and you wanted to coach. What kind of led to that? I think you had some experience in college as well.
Yeah, I was able to be an undergrad assistant for Steve Freeman and his group over with the varsity boys, and essentially my day-to-day was to help sharpen skates, watch practice, fill water bottles, control inventory of equipment, and really sparked me into wanting to coach hockey further. And, ironically, the year I graduated, had a conversation with Bill Thorson and coaching with Gavin Thorson's Squared A team, and that's kind of what propelled me into coaching.
So I'm guessing, knowing you're, whatever, it's undergrad, whatever, but it's kind of a water boy. I mean, it's equipment manager. You said glorified equipment manager, but I'm guessing you brought like 3 or 4 sponges when you were there and just kind of sponged up as much as you could from that coaching staff and to watch how things are run. And you weren't just, happy to sharpen skates. You were learning. What were some of the things you drew away from that coaching staff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was the compete level for their teams. Getting the most out of their players to, show up to the rink, work their tails off, and show that within the game processes as well. And I can't call Freeman being the creator of this, but I took the 2 hard laps after every drill from Steve Freeman, so that's kind of cool. Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, so go walk through the first call to Coach Thorson. Why was Coach Thorson the guy you reached out to? Because he just kind of represented everything Andover hockey at the time. He really was, if you think about it. I think Gunnar was a peewee, and
second year.
Gavin was a squirt, and Ella was probably in U8s, right? So
Gunnar would have been a first year Bantam.
Right. But the 3 kids right in the heart of it. So you reached out to him, and what was his response?
Yeah, I think he wanted alumni to come back and get into coaching within the youth association, and with Bill having 3 kids in the youth program already, he needed some extra help, and I kind of thought about it and decided it'd be a really good opportunity to get on the ice and be able to give back, and was able to help out that team. I believe we had a conversation. We took third in the Squirtacular that year.
Yeah.
So, no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
There were a lot of good teams that year.
And a District 10 championship, I remember.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And I think you won the Eden Prairie championship too.
We did. I
was there. I'm kind of a loser. Sorry. I just remember it was a really good team. It was a really good team.
It was fun.
What was it like? I mean, you probably thought at the time, like what you see and what you actually get, right? What you probably saw was, I'm going to go coach 10-year-old squirts and whatever. But when you showed up and Cooper Conway's there and Gavin Thorson's there, and they had a really good team, what was your thoughts on that team? On that experience?
Unbelievable amount of talent on that team at that squirt level, and being able to work hand in hand, and I think getting my feet wet, just understanding on what a typical practice would look like, and not necessarily, having a general idea of what a college practice is like, but knowing or watching Bill run through a split ice practice, and being able to get my hands on and running practices too, and being around the kids was fun, and I ended up obviously loving it and wanting to pursue my own team, and had an opportunity with the next year being able to coach the Bantam A's, so that was kind of my first step into being a head coach.
So before we jump into that, I wanted to just you said something before we started about how Bill Thorson could basically come up. He had 150,000 drills in his brain. He just downloaded one for that practice, for that situation that worked out, and he could run a practice with 80 guys. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Bill. He's a mastermind, and having a sense of where his team's at, and being able to, extract drills that would be able to, pinpoint specific weaknesses he's seeing within either practices or games, and helping his teams, get better as the season goes along. And it's pretty incredible. Actually, Cal and I had a conversation.
Cal Dukowski, name drop.
We had a conversation actually last Saturday about that, and it's been a lot of fun being able to watch their practices and pick up new things every day from them.
I think it's gonna be fun for Bill to come watch you coach a practice and go, that's my drill, or that's my influence, and then there's other stuff where that's not mine,
right.
Or you have your own twist on things, right. And you got your own twist when you got to coach the Bantam Single A team that next season, and I think Shifsky was on that team, and it's pretty interesting to see his track. Talk about a late bloomer, right?
There, yeah. He remember him from first year Bantams. He's, I wouldn't say the same player he is now, but he always had that extra gear of a shot, and watching him go from where he was at Bantams to captaining my AA Bantam team, and then obviously the success he had in high school, and
Mr. Hockey finalist, right?
Mr. Hockey finalist, captain now for Waterloo, committed to Michigan.
They're in the playoffs, committed to Michigan.
He's a stud.
I would put that as meteoric rise from single A Bantams in 8th grade to where he is today. It's
doing well in the Elite League too, and he's a fun story for Andover hockey.
We had him. I think it might have been the COVID year. Was that his senior year, 21 or 22? 22. They won state, so it would have been 21. 21, because he wasn't on the state championship team. So it must have been the COVID year. Okay, so you had coached that one season. How did you get the call from Bantam Single A to Double A? Do you remember that scenario?
The specifics, no, but I was close with the association, and did an interview process, kind of laying out my thoughts, and I think Bill or Mark had a little bit of influence on it too, but no, it was. I remember I was very excited and nervous, but really excited to be able to work with the top group, and it's been a blessing ever since, being able to work with those kids and watch them grow into high school players.
So the last 7 seasons at Double A, we'll get into some of your guys here, but there's got to be a few guys that you coached against, and they don't necessarily have to be the Jimmy Snuggeroods of the world, but there has to be a few guys that just jump out like, man, we could not stop that kid or stop that team. Who were some of those guys over the 7 years that you remember?
Oh gosh, I think we chatted. Lewandowski was one of them. He was a stud. Jensen's, the Duchesnes, those guys were always Husky killer.
Yeah.
Just trying to think the Peyton Blairs, the Carls, Centennial. We always had good games with them. Who else? I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's tons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun to see that era. You go back, you talk to Pat Andrews, who's the coach at Hermantown, and the era he coached at Hermantown with Dylan Sandberg and those guys. He goes, yeah, we would have just wars against Jax Murray and these guys from Elk River. And, just those little subtle little rivalries, whether it be in conference or in district or just how things get set up. It's fun to kind of reminisce a little bit about those guys. So you went to state twice. One of them was very disappointing. We joked about it a little bit. 2019-20, your team was headed to Braemar. Where were you? I always bring this. Where were you? Were you in the building? Were you the late game? So you found out while at home. What was the cancellation tournament scenario for the Andover Huskies?
Yeah, a little funny story. I believe we were the 1 p.m. game.
So you were probably there.
We were. I was driving there. I was on the frontage road of Braemar Arena, and I think I saw a tweet, or someone sent me a tweet and said the state tournament's canceled, and I go in, and yeah, it was kind of one of those different situations, and then next thing you know, the full shutdown. And
so I live near Braemar, and that was going to be my. I was going to cover the AA and A Bantams, and had a bad feeling. Let's just say at 10 a.m. I went out and watched a junior gold game online, and I'm like, dude, we got to do this social distancing thing because that was all brand new, right? This is like we didn't really know what social distancing was, and we're gonna have to keep old people at home. I was talking to Glenn Andreessen about this just recently about that day. Where were you? What happened? How did they decide? He was kind of giving me some of the insight on it. And I had just arrived at Braemar. So you and I were probably within 5 minutes, 10 minutes of each other or whatever. And I found out. But I'll go back to this game. It was at South St. Paul. And I'm not blaming these people at the junior goal. Like a lot of stuff we just didn't know, but there were literally like 300 people at this junior gold first game, and they were just on top of each other. And I'm like, well, this isn't a very good start to what we want to get accomplished for the state tournament this weekend. And then the rest is history. It gets called off.
Pretty sure the night before we had the BAM AA state banquet at one of the banquet centers in Edina, and there was probably, every single team, 400 plus people in this banquet center, and we're just all kind of looking at each other, not knowing what we're about to get into. And I was like, oh, okay, probably wasn't the best idea at the time, but
I'm sure by that time the NBA had canceled its season, which was, I think, for lack of a better term, that was kind of the first bad sign of things to come. So, what do you tell your team at that point?
It's getting to that point, the emotional high of being qualifying for the state tournament, and that group being the first Bantam AA team from Andover to make it to state was a little bit even more emotional. But a lot of just the question marks of why was probably the biggest thing of trying to tackle as a coach.
You don't have an answer.
And you don't have an answer.
You're looking in your briefcase for an answer, and there's nothing in here.
You're looking for guidance, and no one's really giving it to you straight. And but I'm glad that that specific group was able to accomplish and go to state.
I think I joked with you before the show that there was 8 teams in that state tournament. I think every one of them secretly has a plaque somewhere that they won state that year because they all thought they were going to win that tournament. That's how good that tournament was going to be. There was so many. That was a fun tournament,
self-proclaimed.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was great. Okay, you made it to state a couple of years later. You made it to the state tournament up in Badette. I mean, other than losing the first round, what was the experience like up there? You're literally playing on an island.
Yeah.
There's no one within 3 or 4 hours of you.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was obviously my first experience going through the process of the state tournament with, the banquets.
Where was the banquet in Baudette?
If I remember correctly, don't quote me, I believe it was at the VFW.
Yeah, I was going to say VFW. It's a big place.
Yeah, I was in the basement of the VFW, and the pre-skate practice we were able to do was a lot of fun and nerve-wracking. And you can bring any coach on this pod and any team that makes the state tournament. You have little butterflies. You're trying to get your kids to calm down, and it was a great game. Shout out to Bemidji, they played great, and we were able to beat White Bear Lake the next day in a thriller, and which kind of helped ease the loss a little bit. But no, it was a lot of fun, and definitely makes you want to get back to that environment.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into high school coaching. You talked that you and Peter. Peter asked you at the Blue Ox this year. Peter's way smarter than I am. He asked you if you ever wanted to coach high school, and how did you swerve around that question?
I think I changed subjects to getting a can of your salsa, and I believe he gave me a can of your salsa.
Right,
so
good.
The Joe Mama salsa. But no, it was. I kind of had in the back of my head that I wanted to coach high school, and through the process of the season and going into my professional life and where we were at with my family, it made sense that my schedule would be able to align to be able to lead a high school team. So, it came fast.
So you had never applied for another high school job?
I did not. Forest Lake was the first school I applied for.
All right. Okay, so big question here. We'll get into the coaching stuff. How does that fit into family life? You're married. How long have you been married?
I got married New Year's Eve this year.
No way.
Yeah.
So you're like a newlywed.
Yep, newlywed.
You get the new car smell.
Yep.
I love it. Yep. I love it. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your wife.
Yeah.
And what does she do?
Yeah. Natalie is originally from Burnsville, went to UND.
Okay.
2008 state champion on the dance team.
Nice.
Yeah, she's awesome. She works for Robert Half as a director of recruiting, I guess you would say.
Cool.
Yeah, and she's my biggest supporter and my rock, and I love her to death. And, she came, I think she said she came to 45 of my 55 band.
Stop it.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Book that clip right there. That's amazing.
I could almost have her start writing depth charts for me and what she likes. And it's funny having conversations with her, and I guess my kind of inkling into the parents too, to make sure that they're in line in the stands. And
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Smack and all that stuff.
Coach knows nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you have a dog too?
I do. I have a French bulldog puppy, Jofa.
Whose idea was it to get the dog?
So we originally had a French
Natalie
bulldog.
Or you? Who really wanted the dog?
I would say Jofa leans more towards his mom.
Yeah.
But I like to think that Jofa secretly likes me too a little bit. So.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you do for work?
Yeah, I work for a company called the Novalon. I'm a senior account executive with them. I help post-acute and hospice facilities with healthcare software solutions. So,
all right. And you've been in that kind of your whole life, right? I mean,
I've been in tech sales majority of my professional career, and I've been with Novalon just shy of 3 years now.
What do you think of I know what case you're going to make, but what do you think of the educator, teacher versus the professional coach? I see there's value to both.
Yeah.
Someone who kind of doesn't have that educator background kind of comes in with a fresh viewpoint, and then you have the one who's the educator, like a Bruce Plant type.
Yeah.
Who's, I see. My theory is can they lead young men or young women is like the far most important skill, not what is their profession. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think I think it's important to build a staff with people that are in the school too.
Right.
Lucky enough to be able to have a couple of JV guys that are in the high school right now that would be able to, just be around the kids every day.
Right.
With my job and the conversations we've had with Forest Lake and their type of facilities and environment to be able to work remotely and do some things allows someone that isn't a teacher to be able to coach. And that was super appealing and nice, and was one of the main factors of being drawn to be able to coach to Forest Lake.
Okay. Let's get into other stuff about Forest Lake. I got some questions for you. Let's put it right on the table right away. Forest Lake has not had a long history of hockey success.
Right.
You know what you're entering when you come after this job. Basically, it's a salvation project. You basically get to start from ground zero and start your program.
Yep.
What was that? What's the first thing you did, or what are the first few things you're doing to kind of help that long-term process?
Yeah, I think the initial processes of myself taking over Forest Lake was, reaching out to the community and understanding, how Forest Lake hockey was and where they envision it being moving forward.
Really? What did they say?
Was able to talk with a few board members on the youth and high school side, and there's the amount of enthusiasm and wanting to be a really good hockey community is there, and they, for lack of better terms, need someone to step in and help push them to be that. And that's what is really exciting right now, is the being able to step in and feel the buy-in of wanting to get better and to win hockey games, and everyone's super supportive, and there's a passion in Ranger hockey, and just needs a little bit of push to get them over the top and become a community like an Andover or Centennial and the successful programs that are in the area.
One of the things that I was told, a guy who coached, and he said to me, and I'm not even going to get into the parent part of this, but he says the hardest part of his job was all of the admin. There's the summer training program that I'm sure you'll probably lead this summer. There's, all of the admin that goes with that.
Yeah.
Then all of the things that related to both teams, the hotels for out of town stuff. He goes, I think 80% of my job is admin and 20% is actually coaching the game of hockey. How do you prepare yourself for that?
I don't necessarily know if you can be prepared
Right.
walking into it. I like to think I'm a, push forward type of person to where I'll be able to handle a situation. If I'm not familiar with it, I'll ask for help. But no, right now we're in the processes of getting our STP program set up. There's some construction on our second rink, which is going to be awesome for next winter. But figuring out that ice time, getting registration live, and finding some alumni help to help out.
Here's what a geek I am. I know historically you guys have hosted a summer event. Are you going to keep doing it?
We are. We're hosting STP hockey festival. I believe it's the weekend of the 23rd, if I remember that correctly.
June or July?
June
23rd.
Yeah, and we it's one of our fundraisers to help out with the Blue Line Club, and it's I think they've been doing it for a long time. And
will you play in the Braemar event as well? Or now it's at Bloomington. Will you play in that summer event as well?
I'm not sure this year.
I've seen Forest Lake in it like almost every year.
I'm not entirely sure this year on that schedule. I'm still working through what I can and can't do, but yeah, I know for sure we're doing the Forest Lake tournament, and then we have a few home and homes with different teams that were set up previously.
I haven't looked. I should have probably done that. Sorry. What is how many returners to the pro? What are your numbers returning, and what are your numbers coming in from Bantams approximately?
Right.
I guess are there cuts coming,
Yeah.
or are you going to be short?
So last year there were 65 kids who tried out.
Wow.
So there's a decent number of trial participants last year, and Forest Lake.
That's incredible. Do they have a junior gold team?
Yep. So Forest Lake has a pretty big junior gold program.
Okay.
They have U18 and U16 teams.
Right.
I believe, if I did my math right, we'll have about 25-ish plus coming back.
Okay.
And then coming in, we'll have 7, 8, or 9 from the Bantam ranks. I didn't necessarily do the fact checking on outside of the Bantam AA team, but no, there'll definitely be a healthy number of kids trying out.
It's always a big number.
Nice.
How many do we got? We got 30. We got 40. We have 50. Whatever. It's just I'm not saying other cuts like bring the hammer down cuts. So like it's not an easy thing to do. Is come right in and start cutting people.
Yeah, it's probably the toughest job in any sports is having that conversation of cutting down to a certain number.
All right. So how much did you know about Forest Lake before the thought of Forest Lake coaching job open? What did you know about? What was your impression of what Forest Lake was?
Yeah, playing at Andover and Forest Lake being in our section, they've always had hardworking blue chip style teams that gave you their best effort every night and well coached and the processes of interviewing and learning more about Forest Lake hockey and where they want to be. They want to take on that style of coming to the rink every day and getting back to the point of where Forest Lake isn't going to be an easy out every night.
Okay, well, I don't think they've ever been an easy out, that's for sure. What are your plans? Tell me a little bit about get into your plans as far as you talked already about a little bit about the summer stuff. What does a J. Ekman team look like?
Yeah, I think the first thing starting off is building a culture in the locker room on what you perceive and the values you preach to your kids. We had a team meeting on Tuesday talking about what it means to win the day, and I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh yeah. That's what when I announced you as the coach, I threw "win the day" in there because that is your statement.
Yep.
Where did you get that from?
Shout out to Matt Walker at River Falls. It was his staple. Win the day, palm up. So, so we talked about that a little bit on Tuesday.
What does palm up mean?
Keeping the team before yourself.
Got it. Oh, palm up. Got it. Yep. All right. Good. Love it. Sorry, I'm stupid. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, it really building a culture and then getting the locker room and once you have the kids buying in, you'll be able to dial in the in-game processes of different strategies and getting understanding weaknesses and help improving that and building on strengths and all the fun coaching stuff.
All right. What are your plans for staff? You mentioned a couple JV guys. Are they going to stay with the JV? Are they going to join your staff? Do you have an assistant coach named yet?
Yeah,
let's hear it.
I have one assistant coach named on varsity, Taylor Portner.
Okay.
Played at St. Mary's. Played through the North American League with Odessa. Grew up with Brad and I at Andover, and he's been on my staff for a few years. Previously, we named a JV coach, Andy Richardson. He was the Forest Lake head girls coach last year and wanted to take a step back and be an assistant, and we were able to convince him he's the head track coach. Right. And then I've had some interviews with a goalie and forwards coach that have gone well, so hopefully we can wrap that up here in the next week or so and get a staff put together for summer.
How excited are you for this?
I
knocked on a wall excited?
Yeah, yeah. If you were to sit into our team meeting on Tuesday, I think I was.
Did you go Lombardi right out of the gate?
I was exactly.
Did you just let's go?
Yeah,
right?
Let's go. I'm beyond excited. It's been a whirlwind of the last week or so, but I'm ready to get going. I'm ready to get to work and help guide these men to getting back to being a powerhouse and circle a calendar team. I'm really excited.
Circle the calendar, and you're in the same conference as Cretin.
Yeah,
right?
We're in the Suburban East.
Be White Bear,
White Bear, Stillwater, Cretin, Mounds View, Roseville, us. I think I might be forgetting one or two, but yeah, it's a really tough conference.
That'd be a good test for you out of the gate.
Yep, and then being in Section 7 as well, and
yeah, you got a big. So you're going to play those conference games, two conference games against us, and then you probably got to spend a lot of your non-conference games against the 7 AA's, right?
Majority will be against 7 AA's. I don't want to spoil our opener, but it's going to be a fun one.
You can't tell me?
I can't tell you.
Not there yet?
I hear that. It's not Andover. So.
Not inked? Ooh, that'd be even better.
I know.
I'd like to get that one.
Maybe a couple of years.
I'd like to see that. That would be
Mark
fantastic.
will put us on the schedule.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
What is the 7 AA now? They used to have a QRF, but they're back to a coaches vote now.
Yes, I believe they're a coaches vote now.
When do you have your first section coaches meeting? Will that be at the coaches vote, or do they have something preseason for that?
I'm sure there's preseason. I haven't heard any specific dates set yet, but I'm sure I'll be coming here in the next few weeks.
I'm excited, really excited to see, because I've already seen what you can do with Bantams, and it's been ultra successful. Really well coached teams, very aggressive teams, physical teams. I'm telling the viewers and listeners what to expect. Your teams will be hardworking, disciplined, hard to play against type of teams. What do you do to? I think this is probably the hardest question I'll throw at you all day. When I think of Forest Lake, I think of kids from Forest Lake leaving to go to White Bear Lake. I think of kids from Forest Lake leaving to go play at Hill Marie and others, right? What is the key to, closing down the borders, keeping everybody in Forest Lake and buying into J. Ekman hockey?
Yeah, I think the biggest aspect of that is getting the players to be able to trust you as a leader and have that the specific drive, and showing them what it takes to lead a group of men, and getting that confidence that you'll be able to bring successful teams to the ice, and having that community level involvement is probably the biggest thing. Getting out, working with the youth, getting out, skating with the teams, and getting your face in the community, and showing the passion that you have for a specific hockey group, I think is probably the biggest thing.
I don't think it's going to take you long.
If
I know you well enough, I don't think it's going to take long.
I hope not.
I don't think it's going to take long at all. There's going to be some summer youth clinics, camps, and there's going to be Jay with the whistle around his neck. And they're like, who's that guy? I'm like, well, he's always going to have a Forest Lake hat on. He'll have a Forest Lake hoodie or a jacket, sweatpants, shoes.
Maybe a Forest Lake beanie.
You're the king of the swag. I've never seen a guy who wears so much of his own brand, which is great. You're all about it, and it's fantastic. Like, there's no mistake. Like, who does that guy coach for?
No, die hard.
All right, so I got a few rapid fires to end this. Okay. Hopefully you aren't cheating and looking at my rapid fire. So.
I think I just saw the last question.
I saw your answer. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's fine. That's all right. All right, here we go. We have 5 fun ones and then 5 hockey ones here. Perfect. All right? Here we go. Number 1, favorite food your mom makes or made growing up?
I think I have 2 that are 1A, 1B.
All right.
Lasagna. Oof. Lasagna bake. Okay, I guess I should say 3. Lasagna bake. Her enchilada bake.
Oof.
And then
now I'm hungry.
A holiday staple. Egg and bacon bake.
Nice. Everything's the bake. I like it.
I'm a big bake guy.
Big glass pan, right?
Glass pan, yeah.
Love it.
Hot dish, yeah.
Love it. All right. Taylor Swift or Morgan Wallen?
Morgan Wallen.
All right. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Being able to read people's minds.
Nice. I've heard of that one before. All right. No matter what, name one person who makes you laugh.
One person that makes me laugh. I don't know, probably my wife now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what my guess was going to be. Okay. All right. You could recommend one movie for anyone to watch. What would it be? Funny, serious, you name it.
I don't want to say the cliche Miracle, but probably Youngblood.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, nice.
Classic hockey movie.
It is. All right. Now we'll get some hockey questions. Yep. Good segue there. Best player you ever coached? It's a good list.
It is a good list. Oof. I mean, it probably has to be probably Gavin Thorson.
You only get one.
shout out Weston Knox.
Right.
I say that because Weston said I was his favorite coach ever. So I got to give him a little shout
That's
out.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. And this,
I was talking to Bernie, his dad, this past week, and he said something about that. He goes, "Oh yeah," I go, "I'm interviewing Jay next week on a podcast." He goes, he said something to the effect of, "Yeah," he said that I wasn't his favorite coach, Jay was.
Yep.
He goes, "I'll never let him, never let Weston forget that he said that." While I taught him how to skate and did all the stuff that Bernie does. You know, right? All right. Who's the best locker room guy you have? Might not be the best player, but the guy who just makes the locker room, makes your culture great.
I mean, I get segue Weston Knox again.
Okay, all
I mean,
right.
he was a great guy. He was a great leader for me and for the high school. And Air Force is getting a great player.
All right, ready to go. This one, I think I know the answer, but maybe you go off script here.
Yep.
If you had a motto for your team, what would it be?
A model.
A motto.
Oh, motto. Okay. Win the day.
I would think that would be my answer. All right.
Yep.
You're down 2 goals with 4 minutes left. When does Jay start thinking about pulling the goalie?
Is there a face-off involved?
Sure. It's your question.
I would say immediately, and I probably get I probably have to get pulled back a little bit. I'm a pretty aggressive goalie puller. Kind of puts the standard of where you're at on the ice if they score a goal if you need to pull one again. But my funny. Do you care if I segue?
Yeah.
Funny story. I guess not funny, but pretty cool story. Kyle Law's group, I believe it was 2019.
Yep.
Second year, double
18,
A
19. Yeah.
playing Elk River at home, down 3 goals with 2.5 minutes left. We're able to come back,
Score 3.
2.5 minutes and tie it. So that was kind of cool. But no, I would say probably right away.
Right away.
But then before the 3:45 mark.
Okay, good. All right, last question. Who's the best player in Forest Lake history?
I think you would have to say C.J. Cease.
I would too.
Because he played, plays in the NHL.
Yeah.
Obviously, so probably C.J. Cease.
Go with him.
I think he's with San Jose now.
All right. Well, that about does it for us here. This was a blast getting to know you. Hopefully, the people from Andover got some good chuckles, and the people from Forest Lake got a feeling of who they got coming in. Anything else you want to share here?
No, appreciate your time. This has been fun, and can't wait to get started and get on the ice with my boys over in Forest Lake and get out in the community, and hopefully, and want to congratulate the spring sports too, with a lot of guys playing different sports, and good luck as your tennis and golf matches and baseball games go on. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the new Forest Lake Rangers
absolutely.
Jersey on the rack here. It's just awesome to have another one in the 7AA for us. And I don't know, I'm just get too sappy here, but I'd love watching guys go from one level to the next in the coaching ranks, and big fan of yours. And when I saw you got named, I'm like, I'm going to podcast this guy because he'll be an interesting story. And I think people from Forest Lake will be excited. We're excited to start calling off on our boys podcast, big wins for Forest Lake, because I know they're coming.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Jay Ekman, new coach at Forest Lake High School.